All right, well, hey everybody, great to see you here at the middle service. This place is packed. I'm so honored that you would be here. If we haven't met, I'm Eric. I get to serve as one of the pastors here at SMCC, and you are here on a great Sunday because we are in week 3 of a series called At the Table. And the design behind this series is very, very simple. We want to introduce you at the table to some people in our church, people that you might never know, people that you may never get to share a meal with, but in this series, you get to sit down with them at the table and get to know them. They are incredible people. And by doing this, we are hopefully making a very large and big church feel more like a small table. And that is the design behind the series At the Table. In week 1 of the series, we talked about how Jesus did incredible life-changing ministry around tables and in homes. Of course, there were moments where he was in the synagogue, the gathering place of the Jewish community, and there were other times that he was in the temple, and at one point he actually flipped over the tables in the temple. Different sermon for a different day. But so much of the ministry that Jesus did, it happened inside of homes, around tables, around meals, with groups of people at the dinner table that really wouldn't have spent much time together at all. And throughout the Gospels, if you just wanted to do a study, looking at all the ministry that Jesus did around the table, I think it'd be a rich study. And in week 1, we saw that that's what Jesus did. Inside of homes, lives were changed. Around tables, then, in the local church, as the movement began and it exploded across the Greco-Roman world, it was inside of homes, around tables, that leadership gifts were coached and developed, that lies were combated, that people experienced healing, that prayers were prayed. It was around a table that Jesus broke bread and gave his followers a way to remember him forever, communion, which we take here on the first Sunday of the month. And then in the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, we are introduced to another table, the wedding supper of the Lamb. It's going to be an incredible table, an incredible feast. In Revelation chapter 3, Jesus says, I knock on the door of your life. And he describes a relationship with him as sitting down for a meal at the table. And so at the table is a very appropriate metaphor for understanding life with King Jesus and life inside of the local church. Now today, we're going to take this series further. And I want to begin with this point right here. Every table is set and served by someone. Every table is set and served by someone. You know this. A great server can make a meal. A bad server can break a meal. All right? I bet there's some servers in the room. Raise your hand if you've waited tables throughout your life. I'm just curious. All right. I'm sure you were the great ones. I'm sure you were the great ones. All right? The swig on the other side of town needs your help. Not so great yet, but they will get there. They will get there. Didn't know a dirty soda could take that long. Anyways. Yes, you know this. A great server can make a meal. A bad server can break a meal. If you ever showed up to someone's home for a dinner, they invited you over, so much serving and setting has gone in to that table. Someone picked out the plates and the cups, and someone washed them and ran them through the dishwasher and put them out on the table. Someone got out the napkins and the silverware. Someone purchased the food, the main course, all right? Someone set the table. Someone's serving the table. Even last night, I was at this barbecue at someone's house. It was an incredible spread, and so much intentionality and so much work went into the meal, because every table is set and served by someone. My wife Carissa and I, we celebrated an anniversary a few weeks back, and we went to this fancy restaurant in Sandy, Utah called Lakai. It is very, very fancy. There was so much silverware on the table, I didn't know what to do with it, you know? It was set so specifically, and every time they brought out a new dish, it was like a work of art. It was a wonderful meal because someone set the table and served the table so wonderfully. It's one of those restaurants, it was so fancy, they had peacocks roaming the ground. Peacocks! Bougie and unsanitary, but peacocks nonetheless. So you know this, every table is set and served by someone, and even your experience here today has been set and served by someone. Now, here's another thing you know. When it comes to the kitchen table or a restaurant table or a church, if there is no serving, if no one is setting the environment, well, the whole thing will cease to exist. In church, like at a restaurant, if no one sets it and no one serves it, it will shut down. It will shut down. It takes someone who's preparing the meal, designing the meal, buying the food, and putting out the spread for the meal to happen. And it is the same in the local church. So today, In this message, before I invite some people to the table, I want to teach through 3 passages. First, I want to talk about a passage where Jesus defines service for us. And then I want to teach through a passage where we see the impact of that type of service. And then I want to talk about a passage that describes your participation as a servant inside of the local church, all right? So what is service, the impact of the service, and then we are all designed to serve. I want to show you all of that today. So we're going to begin in John chapter 13. John chapter 13, there is a scene that is very famous. Even if you are new to church or new to Bible, you are probably familiar with this scene. It'll be on the screen so you can follow along behind me. Let me take you in to the moment, another table scene with King Jesus. It's in John chapter 13. It was just before the Passover festival, a whole different type of feast, a whole different type of table. You could read about the Passover festival, the book of Exodus in the Old Testament. It's an incredible table scene. But Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world. So Jesus is preparing for his crucifixion. He knows that he will be raised to life. He's preparing for all of this, and he's preparing his disciples for life when he is not right in front of them, but rather his Spirit is in them, okay? So he's preparing them for this. Of course, around a table. Okay? Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. He loved them to the end. Now, John is writing this. This is the Gospel of John. So the New Testament begins with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and then John. John was one of Jesus' closest followers and closest friends. And John is just adding a little bit of commentary here as he would write about this scene later on. And he's saying Jesus was so faithful to the end. He loved us to the end. Like, this is his way of just saying, oh, what a leader, what a servant, what a shepherd he was. So John is adding this real personal touch inside of his gospel. Verse 2, the evening meal was in progress. So there they are at the table. Someone had served the table, someone had set the table, and Jesus was sitting there at the table. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. This isn't a message on evil today. It's a different message for a different day. This isn't a message on the backstory of Judas, a different message for a different day, but evil is at work inside of this scene. Jesus knows all about it, okay? John lets us know that there's so much going on in the unseen realm and the unseen battle, even at this table setting. Verse 3, Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. This is a way of saying Jesus is fully God. He knew what he came to do. He predicted his death and resurrection. He was about to pull it off. He was about to ascend to the Father, reign from a throne. And so this is John's way of saying Jesus is a very big God and a very big deal, okay? And so what do you think someone who is fully God should do next? If someone is a king, what are they going to do next? I mean, this is a big moment. What's going to happen? This is what happened. He got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. What? A towel around the waist, picking up a towel at a meal, it was something that a servant would do. Someone at the bottom of the social structures of life, not the one who was fully God. He's about to give his life as a ransom for many and rescue the world. What? He picks up a towel. What? Why? Well, we're about to see why. He got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. Took off his outer clothing, a couple different layers that they would wear in the first century. This is simply a way of saying Jesus, he rolled up his sleeves. He's ready to get to work. He's ready to serve. Okay. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. In the first century, in the Near East, it was hot, it was dusty, kind of like St. George. And so people would wear their sandals, they would travel by foot, and so this happened regularly. But they would never have expected the creator of the entire universe to take on the posture of a servant, to pick up a towel. Skipping ahead to verse 12. When he had finished washing their feet, so Jesus washes their feet. There's some moments of conversation in between. We don't have time to cover it today, but when he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. Do you understand what I have done for you? He asked them. Like, do you get this moment? Do you know what I'm trying to show you? Do you understand what I've done for you? He asked them. You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. Lord and teacher. Lord, the one who is the authority over it all. Teacher, the one who instructs you how to live. By the way, is Jesus your Lord and teacher? Is he your authority? The authority of our lives is the one who calls the shots in our lives. The teacher of our lives is the one who instructs us how to live our lives. And Jesus is saying, I am both, Lord over all, and the one who is to instruct you in how to live. How should we live? As servants. People who pick up a tool for service, an insignificant tool, usually picked up by insignificant people. Jesus says, this is how you are to serve. This is how you are to be. Wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Verse 17, now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Now that you know these things, plural, you will be blessed. You will be so delighted, overjoyed, and happy when you do these things, when you do them, plural. And when I read this, the question that I always have is, Jesus, what's the them? I want to be blessed. I want to experience your joy. I want to experience deep delight living your way. What are the things I need to do? What's the them? And the first part is, let me serve you. If you haven't let Jesus serve you yet, you are missing out on the joy Jesus has for you yet, okay? Jesus says, you must be served by me first. Now, if you grew up in religion, you jump to the second part. I knew it. I got to start serving more to be blessed. I got to start serving more to be happy. No, you have to let Jesus serve you first. This is where gospel delight comes from. The word blessed is an important word in the New Testament. A lot of people hear that word and think, I do this, God puts some more of this into my life. That's what it means to be blessed. A better translation of blessed is the word delighted, joyed, at a simple level, happy. You will be happy in this life when you let Jesus serve you and when you decide to serve like Jesus. This is what Jesus is saying. So, when it comes to a towel, and as we think about John 13, there are really two ways to hold the towel in John 13. Both matter. Both matter. Jesus says both are significant. Here's the first way. Let me see if I can do this for us. Here's one way to put on the towel, okay? This is a posture where you say, I'm going to eat. By the way, at the 2030 banquet, which was wonderful, there were some people with the napkin. They were ready to chow, all right? And I'm so glad they were, okay? This is one posture with the towel. I'm ready to be served. And by the way, if you are here today and you are investigating things, it is okay if you look like this on the inside. You're evaluating. The parking lot, it had a spot for me, maybe the 830 has more, but maybe there was a spot for you. And the coffee was hot. Someone prepared that for you. And the music, they like tuned their guitars before you got here. And maybe you're sitting back and you're thinking, man, what does this place have for me? That is okay. Jesus said, you need to be served. And it is our privilege and our delight to serve you. So if you are here today and you are like this, you are our guest. Sit like this for as long as you need and enjoy the table that has been set by others for you. There's another way to hold the towel. And this is the other posture. Something like this. How can I help? How can I serve? By picking up the towel, I'm here to clean up a mess. I'm here to dust off a spot. I'm here to wipe that down. I have a towel and I am ready. I am ready to go to work. Is there something I can do? How can I serve? It is my privilege, it is my pleasure to do so. Jesus says both postures are important in the life of a Jesus follower. Be served by Jesus and by his people. And if you are a guest here today, be served. Enjoy it. I pray you leave blessed because you are here. Happy and delighted because you were here. And for others of you in the room, you've been here since sunup. For some of you, you served the early service. You had the towel out. Quite literally, the coffee was leaking earlier. There were towels out. People were scrubbing and they were cleaning because this is your posture. Do you know that Jesus has served you? He's given his life for you. And his people, they want to serve you too. It's okay to be like this. And Jesus also invites us to move to this too. Which group are you in? Which group are you in? Either one is good. I want you to experience both. And so, the disciples who were at the table, they took this to heart. Not perfectly at all. When Jesus was crucified, they were doubting, they were fearful. But they took the message and they began to take it to the ends of the earth. And what happened is the churches started to grow. The movement started to explode onto the scene. And they started to experience growing pains, okay? Growing pains. Like last Sunday, where over 6,000 people were at SMCC across the board, and every one of the pastors around here sat back and thought, we're gonna need to build it bigger. How are we going to serve all of these people? Well, in the first century, growth, it was explosive, and they felt some growing pains. It's like they needed another 6th campus up the road, for all the growth. And in Acts chapter 6, we see the impact of their service. Let me read this for us. Acts chapter 6. In those days, when the number of disciples was increasing. I love that line. We could say the same thing here in St. George. The number of disciples, it is increasing. And of course, when churches grow, people complain. Isn't that interesting? There's friction, there's growing pains. And even in the first century, there was grumbling. Church people grumbling, unheard of, I know. And they begin to grumble. So in those days, when the number of disciples was increasing, the Hellenistic Jews among them complained against the Hebraic Jews because their widows were being overlooked in the daily distribution of food. So each day there were people who had the towel out, they were ready to serve. But there were different groups inside the church. It happens. One body, because of King Jesus, coming from different cultural backgrounds. So you had the Hellenistic Jews, and the Hellenistic Jews, they were Jewish. They read the Old Testament scriptures, but they were assimilated into Greek culture, Hellenistic. That's Greek culture. So they spoke Greek. They were part of the Jewish diaspora community, the community that kind of spread out into these Greek communities. So they thought Greek, maybe they looked Greek, they spoke Greek, but they considered themselves worshipers of Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament. And then there were Hebraic Jews in the church as well. They still spoke Hebrew. They were a bit more traditional. And they begin to clash. Certain people's needs are being overlooked because of the growth of the local church, the growth of the movement. So they decide something needs to be done. Verse 2. So the 12 gathered all the disciples together and said, it would not be right for us to neglect the ministry of the word of God in order to wait on tables. There's our word again. So much life change happened around the table. And so the apostles, these key leaders that Jesus commissioned to go out and share the good news of the kingdom, they were like, we need to wait on tables, but we also need to teach the gospel. We need a bigger team. Remember the movie Jaws? We're going to need a bigger boat, all right? They're going to need a bigger team. So that's what they decide to do. Brothers and sisters, choose 7 men from among you who are known to be full of the Spirit and wisdom, people who are very wise and people who have godly character, full of the Spirit. We will turn this responsibility over to them and we'll give our attention to prayer and the ministry of the word. This proposal pleased the whole group. Like they are working together as a community, commissioning leaders as a community. So they chose Stephen, a man full of faith and of the Holy Spirit, also Philip, Prochorus, Nicanor, Timon, Parmenas, and Nicholas from Antioch, a convert to Judaism. They presented these men to the apostles who prayed and laid their hands on them. So the word of God spread. Because they made this adjustment, because they expanded their team, because they built capacity and infrastructure for ministry, the message spread. And I'm so glad it didn't stall out, because at some point it spread to me in the Pacific Northwest when I was 18. And at some point it spread to you. And it is still spreading across southern Utah. They got this right. They built a team, and the message went out. The number of disciples in Jerusalem increased rapidly, and a large number of priests became obedient to the faith. So the movement continues to grow. Here's what I want you to know. When the load is shared, the mission advances. When the load of ministry is shared, the mission advances. So Jesus says, this is what service looks like. The disciples began to serve in that way, caring for the widows inside of the community, giving them food, serving in the way that Jesus said to serve. The movement begins to grow. They begin to build a team so that the movement can continue to grow. The mission advances. That's the impact when we take Jesus seriously and decide to pick up the towel. Now, 1 Corinthians 12 includes all of us. Here's what the Apostle Paul would say about serving. There are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in every one, it is the same God at work. Different gifts, different ways to serve, one God, one group of people, okay? Verse 7, now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given. Manifestation is a big word, maybe a bit of a scary word. Manifestation simply means we will be able to see God at work through you. His Spirit at work in you will be seen. How? By how you use your gifts in the local church. It will be evident to all. It'll be seen, manifested, okay? It'll be seen. Now, what will this do? Now, to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. So, when gifts are activated inside of the local church, when you use the gifts that God has given you, it is good for everyone. It is good for everyone, the common good. See, ministry, which is just a fancy word for service, it is not meant to be done by a few of God's people. It is meant to be done through all of God's people. And the work of the ministry here is not for a handful of pastors who do all the work, because we never could. We share the load together as a team because God's mission is too big for any one person or even just the staff. It includes all of us. Now, for a moment, if I can get vulnerable with you, when I think about the load, when I think about the ministry load, the amount of people who are stepping in to these environments called SMCC and sitting at the SMCC table, it's a bit overwhelming. It is a bit overwhelming. Every Sunday, somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 people attend SMCC. Now, I just saw a study recently that said something very fascinating. It studied a bunch of different age groups, and this was put out by Barna, Pew Research. A lot of people have studied this. And they said the average person attends church 1.5 to 1.9 times a month. 1.5 to 1.9 times a month. Now, pause real quick on this table stuff. Do you know what generation is coming to church the most? Gen Z. Can we give it up for Gen Z, by the way? Gen Z. I love the Gen Zers. Love the Gen Zers. Stick around for the next service. You want to see some Gen Z? I mean, they're here today, but the next, they're still sleeping in. They're still waking up. But they'll be here. They'll be here. 1.5 to 1.9 times a month. So take 4,000 or 5,000 times it by 1.5, 1.9, somewhere in the middle. I'm not a mathematician. I'm a pastor. But that's about 10,000 people who call SMCC home. 10,000 people who need prayer and support and care. They need needs met, rents paid, cars fixed. They need to be on a team. They need to be connected. 10,000? When I think about that, I want to curl up in the fetal position and hide under the table because that is so many people. Oh, but here's the next thing that comforts me. Any given month, there's somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people on the team setting and serving the table. We're not doing this alone. What a movement of God across SMCC. And so it brings great comfort to know that the mission advances when the load is shared. That is happening here. And it brings me great comfort to know that when your gifts are activated, it is for the common good. It is good for everyone. And that's what we see happening. So here's what I want to do next. I want to invite to the stage today a few people to join me at the table so that you can hear their serving journey. You can hear a bit of their story. So would you help me welcome to the stage Jesse, Justin, and Mindy. Thank you, thank you. Come on up. Grab a seat, you guys. Thank you so much for setting the table, putting out some chairs for us. Here to serve. Thank you so much. All right. Great to have you guys. Thanks for joining me at the table. This is week 3 of At the Table, and the idea is that a large church gets to know you at the table. Could this many people fit in your home for a dinner?
Absolutely not.
Okay, all right. So this is good. This is like having a meal with you guys. Quickly, tell us about maybe your favorite meal, a memorable meal, and maybe a server who made the meal special. Tell us about that.
Okay, so mine is Valentine's dinner where Justin made basically a fine dining dinner with lobster, filet mignon, garlic shrimp, dessert, and he served every dish. So that was really awesome for me because usually during holidays, I'm one of the servers. So it was
Dude,
nice.
Justin, making the rest of the dudes look bad around here, bro. Well done.
Less wait time on,
Yeah.
on Valentine's Day.
How about for you, man? Memorable meal.
Ours was our anniversary. There's a place called the Mission Inn where we're from in Riverside, and there's a steakhouse there called Dwayne's, and it's super fine dining, and they do not let you do anything but eat. Like, they pour everything. They have like the 2-foot long pepper thing to put on your salad. If you eat your bread and there's like some crumbs on the tablecloth, they'll just come by and clean up your tablecloth because you can't have crumbs on your tablecloth.
I've seen that.
And our server was amazing because we also finished with the bananas Foster that they prepared in front of you. And I said, I'm a little bit of a pyro, and so he made the flames really big when he did it.
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
I love that. Jesse, memorable meal?
Can I forgot that this was part of the question, but like I was a server for 10 years.
Where
at
were
a
you a
restaurant.
server at?
I was out in Michigan at this place called Donkey Taqueria, and a place called the Winchester. So both of these places, awesome. But
Were
the
you a
things-
good server?
The things I made great money doing it. And
No,
people
that
seem to
wasn't
like me.
that wasn't the question.
Okay, so I want to just say a couple things. When I was serving tables, sometimes you get a server and you're like, I don't want to talk to that person at all, okay? And for me, being in that industry for so long, I'm incredibly judgmental, and not a terrible way, but I'm like, man, this is really bothering me. But I would always try and meet people at their level.
Yeah.
If they had a high intensity, I'm like, okay, well, here we go. Or if they were like, I don't want to talk to you, just get me my stuff.
Yeah.
You kind of wanted to anticipate what they wanted before they even had to ask. And you were always head on swivel, kind of just like, oh yeah, I got to go do that now. These people really want to talk. I can tell, so I need more time for them. And these people don't want anything to do with me. They just want their food and their drinks.
You sound like a good server, honestly. That sounds like the way to go. Nice job. All right. Did you want to say anything about your meal, though?
No.
Okay, all right. Question 2.
I've had a lot of them.
He's still waiting for a memorable meal.
No.
You're about to get a lot of invites, bro. A lot of invites. Yeah. All right. Take us back to a time when you realized you had a gift you could serve in the local church. Where did you discover that? When did you discover that?
When I was coaching baseball at Cal State Bakersfield, I was talking to our pitching staff about discipline and building habits, and I just randomly said, I need to do that as a follower of Jesus. I need to be disciplined in reading my Bible. And I had a couple guys come up to me after practice and asked me what book I was reading through, and if we could meet and talk about that as they read along with me. And we started with just us 3 that next week, and by the time the Christmas break hit, we had half the team doing a Bible study. So that was the first time I realized, like, oh man, God can use me to do this. Like, I felt so unworthy to be doing something like that.
Yeah.
And he just was able to use me and all my mistakes and just my passion to just say, hey, I'm here.
Awesome.
Use me.
Awesome. What a story. Mindy, how about you?
For me, I've always had the heart of a server, and even at 18 years old, I started serving in children's ministry from 2 to 3-year-olds all the way up through high school, and also just when they needed help tearing down, when we had our church in a gym, it was just whatever was needed.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Awesome. How about you, man?
I guess from a young age, I've always loved worship and music, and that was my favorite part of church, even at like age 5 and 6. But I think I realized, as I was learning guitar as a teenager, I was part of a college ministry up in Cedar City, and the pastor actually was like, hey, you should be playing on this team. And I was only 13, and then they made me sing, and they made me do all this stuff I didn't want to do at the time.
Dance? They made you dance?
No.
Okay.
That was a different church. But at that age, I realized, man, I think I could really do this. I really love everything about worship. I love those environments. I love creating something that people can encounter Jesus. Even from a young age, I think that was pretty apparent to me. So
Awesome. Still apparent. Tell us what you do around here, guys, to set the table. Maybe we'll start with you, Jesse, then work our way down. How do you set the table around here at SMCC? How do you serve?
Well, honestly, a lot of it has to do with our teams. We could not do it without the teams here. Everything you see, I get to be a part of. Sights, sounds, things.
Smells.
Smells. No, not that. My goodness.
This is the second. By the third service, this is going to be
wow.
unhinged.
I don't know. I really just, one of my biggest fears is to not have my teams be prepared. I don't want them to ever feel like they don't know what's happening, they don't know what they're doing. And so I really try to go out of my way to make sure they have everything, and so that they can serve everyone else here.
Yeah, that's awesome. How do you guys serve around here?
So currently I serve in children's ministry with the toddlers. And that's really so that parents can come and enjoy the service distraction-free, because I know what it's like to have toddlers, and that is hard. Also, for the women's ministry, I'm actually a leader at a table this season. And I feel like there's something else. Oh, we started a small group
cool.
or a community group this year. So
Right on.
So yeah, I do announcements from time to time and try to make you guys laugh. It's hard. So I'll never be a comedian.
It's not hard to make them clap, I'll
Yeah,
tell you that. They
yeah.
love to clap.
I also serve in the high school ministry on Sunday nights. Yep, go high school ministry. And then, like Mindy said, we also co-lead a community group here. And just for us, it's very important for us because our marriage grew, my faith grew by having people in community that could be a part of my everyday life and not just on Sundays.
So follow-up question, and we'll come down the line. But why do you do it? Why is it worth it? Has there been a moment where you thought to yourself, man, this is why I do this?
Yeah, for my big ones were from high school ministry. We have recently we had 2 students that I can think of off the top of my head. One, I got to witness Nate get baptized on a month ago, and that was just amazing to see him take that step. And then the other one is him and a young man by the name of Andrew started FCA at Crimson Cliffs High School. They just got that approved. So just to see them take that step and that boldness at such a young age is amazing to see.
Yeah, wonderful. Mindy, how about you?
I think my moment was after serving in children's ministries for over 20 years at our previous church. One of my students that I had when he was 5 years old became the children's ministry lead at one of our campuses, so
Oh, wow.
It was really exciting.
That's so cool. That's amazing. Jesse, how about you?
I would say there's been a few of them, but I think even just last week I had this really cool moment where someone came up and was just like, they're just saying thank you for doing what you do, but they said, it was really cool because I brought a friend and they were not a Christian, they didn't know Jesus, and something you had said really just kind of extended it to them, and they said they felt, it was cool, because for me, those are the moments that I think are really, really important. A lot of us, I think we're going to be okay in many ways, but I think that new person coming in who has never experienced something with Jesus or never encountered Jesus, those are the moments that make me go, this is why we do this.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Awesome. Last question here. I would guess there are some people on the fence today maybe thinking, I don't know that I actually have a gift. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure I can give up, Sunday night football to serve. I'm on the fence. What would you say to somebody who maybe doesn't feel super spiritual, doesn't even know where to begin when it comes to serving in their local church?
That Sunday night football was a thing to me there because that was hard for me to give up to do high school ministry. I'm not going to lie.
There's a lot of ministries where you don't have to give up football. You can still serve, though.
Yes. Yeah. So if it came down to just the super talented or the super, as we feel qualified, we'd have 10 people serving. You just have to remember that God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And so you just have to be willing to take that step to serve. And as we heard in the message, Jesus came to serve. And so we just have to volunteer, be there, and God will take care of the rest.
Yeah, awesome. Mindy, what would you say to someone on the fence maybe?
I will say that I've never felt overqualified or even really qualified to serve. I just asked God, where do you want me? What is it you want me to do? And just let him lead me there, and that's worked out.
Awesome.
I think there's so many places you could serve here. There's always a need. I think at any church I've ever been at, there's always been a need. Across the country, there's always open spots. If you're not a person who sings or plays, that's okay. There are so many other places that I think you could do that, and I would encourage you to just try it. Kind of like Pastor Thomas said in the past, just because you decide to serve somewhere doesn't mean you're there for all eternity. We can move you around. We can say, yeah, you don't like that. That's okay. Let's try something else. Just give it a shot. The need is huge, and we'd love to have you and love to train you in whatever position there is available. So
Awesome. Hey, let's give these guys a hand for sitting at the table with us. On your way out today, Pastor Aaron, myself, a few others will be out to the left, and we would love to help you find your spot around here at SMCC if you need to be served in a way or decide to want to serve. We're going to end the service right there, but I want to end it in a very special way today. So stand to your feet if you would. Hop to your feet. In the New Testament letters, there are often closings to the letters, a way of saying goodbye that are so rich and so meaningful. Sometimes they're called a benediction. It's a way of saying goodbye to each other for a few days or for the rest of the week. And so today, we've been in 1 Corinthians, and so I want to end with the benediction from 1 Corinthians. I'll put it on the screen. This is our prayer and our goodbye to one another today. So I'll count to 3. We will read this out loud to each other, and we will say goodbye in this very ancient way. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Amen, everybody. You're dismissed. We'll see you back here next Sunday.